Welcome back to this new inspirational video. Today I wanted to go over a few paragraphs from the lecture The Art of Dying, given by Neville Goddard. In it is to be found the real trick through which you can change the state of your own consciousness so different results can occur in your world. If we want to go from poverty into wealth, we have to change our mind accordingly. The same goes for any other goal we might have. We have to learn how to get into the spirit of our own desires so that they start to change our minds and behavior in such a way that we are ready to receive and create the very thing we desired. If you have been having difficulty manifesting your own dreams, then pay careful attention to the rest of this video. Now, Neville began his lecture by saying the following. If you are with us for the first time, this is what we believe and teach here. We firmly believe that you, the individual, can realize your every dream. And the reason is that God and man are one. We believe that the difference is not in the mentality with which we operate, but only in the degrees of intensity of the operant power itself, and that we call human imagination. Keats said, you can take any one great and spiritual passage, and it will serve as a starting point to lead you to the 32 palaces. Take this simple one in Paul's letter to the Corinthians, I die daily, or Blake's statement in his letter to Crab Robinson's. Death is the best thing in life. There is nothing in life like death, but people take such a long time in dying. At least their neighbors never see them rise from the grave. If you understood Blake, you would not think of death as the world thinks of it, but you would see that no one can grow without outgrowing. But man is not willing to outgrow, and yet he wants other things than those he has. But if you remain in one state, you will forever have to suffer the consequences of not being in another state. If I remain in the state of poverty, I must suffer the consequences of not being in the state of wealth. So I must learn the art of dying. Paul says, I die daily. Blake says, people take such a long time in dying. Man does not outgrow his state of ill health or his old job or his environment. We must learn the art of dying. We say that the imagination of God and man are one, no matter how far it goes. Universes are created and sustained by the same power that sustains our environment. We say the power is the same, but we recognize a vast difference between the power that sustains the universe and that which sustains an environment. The difference is only in the degree of intensity of the center of imagining. So, if we increase the intensity in the center of imagining, we will create greater and greater things. So I see my dream. And I must learn to die to what I am in order to live to what I want to be. What does it mean? Well, if I'm poverty-ridden and frightened, and then you meet me and see me as free as a bird and happy, then I'm not the man you knew who was frightened. Then where is that other man buried? For Moses is the power in man to draw out of himself anything in this world he desires, and to so enact the drama that he dies to what he was, that he may live to what he is enacting. That is Moses, and no one knows where he is buried. But we were told, his eyes were not dim, nor his natural force abated. That is to say, when I die, that is when I enact the drama. I do not wait for signs to appear. It is when I'm most aware of my restrictions and feel the pressures. Then is when I must learn to die. I must learn to let go of what my senses dictate and go mad, and yield to what is only a dream. But sustaining it and living in it, I die to what was physically real as I gradually lift up what was only the dream. You knew only the frightened man and not the other one. No one can tell where the other has gone. Now let me digress for a moment and dissect this part a little further for you. From experience, I know when I make music I have to enter into the spirit of being a music producer. In other words, I have to mentally and emotionally feel myself capable and freely expressing my desire for creating music. If I were to try and make music while my mind is still focused on YouTube or any other activity, then I cannot create the music. This has been such a subtle thing throughout my entire life that at first I never realized it ties beautifully into what Neville is suggesting you to do as well. Basically, if I work on something, my mind tends to be occupied with what I'm working on and nothing else. That is a change of consciousness if we really think about it. That is part of what it means to yield to your own dream. The ability to occupy your own mind with the objective of your own desire without permitting any distractions. If you can but simply get into the spirit of your own dream, you will quickly start to become compelled to do things differently in order to manifest the invisible state of your own imagination. Now let's go back to Neville's words. So this is how the art of dying is dramatized in the Bible, as the death of a man, but it has nothing to do with any certain man, for the story of the Bible takes place in the mind of every person. I will crucify myself, for God crucified himself in me that I might live. But now I must nail myself upon the thing I desire and remain faithful to it, lifted up as God nailed himself upon me. The present body is believing himself a man called Neville, giving Neville the same power that is his, but keyed low, in the hope that I will lift up the power to bigger things in my world to which I can nail myself, and so lift them up. There is no possibility of man making his dream alive unless he nails himself to this cross that is man. We are living because God nailed himself to us. Now man, meaning us, keyed low, yielding to other states and not to what the senses dictate, becomes one with the state and nails himself to it. With this we mean he fixes himself in the state through emotion and feeling. That is when he will be lifted up out of the old state. Now let's dissect this paragraph as well. At the end he gives the key points to this trick. You nail yourself to a state through emotion and feeling. The easiest way to do this is to imagine a scene you would encounter where your dream now a reality, and then symbolically nail your mind to the scene inside your imagination by allowing yourself to feel what it would be like were your dream a reality, and then living every single day from that mental state, keeping the mood alive within yourself. You simply become determined and focused on that scene inside your imagination and keep growing towards it. You will stay inspired and it will compel you to do whatever is needed. And Neville went on to say, for crucifixion comes before resurrection. Crucifixion without resurrection would be unthinkable. It would be the utter triumph of tyranny. If I could yield myself to my dream and it would not become flesh, it would be complete tyranny over this wonderful concept of life. But you cannot feel if you yield. If you hold back within yourself wondering, what will I play as my last card if this doesn't work? Then you have not yielded. You have not nailed yourself to your dream. It is a complete yielding that we're called upon to do. It is the great cry, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? If you know that you're God doing it, you can yield. But there must be complete abandonment as though it were true, and then you make it a reality. The cause is that form of mental abandonment that Blake calls madness. But man is afraid. He dare not so abandon himself to a dream and so never dies. So Blake was right when he said, there is nothing like death. The best thing in life is death. Now let me repeat that final part again because it's so important. There must be complete abandonment to your dream, as though it were true, and then you make it a reality. The cause is that form of mental abandonment that Blake calls madness. But man is afraid. He dare not so abandon himself to a dream and so never dies. If you truly grasp what is meant with this statement, you agree that we are talking about the ability to embrace our own dreams from within, without permitting any contradicting thoughts or feelings to push it out of our minds. Can't you see how much easier it would become for you to realize your own dreams in life if this were to happen? That is exactly what you are called upon to learn and to do. And Neville went on to say that many people only age but never change inwardly. They only mature physically, but they have not died in the mystical sense. There is no transforming power in the physical death, and they will still be anchored in a larger world with all the trends of this world. To our senses they seem to be dead, but they will still, on another plane, have to learn the art of dying. I can, anywhere, so completely detach myself from what has taken place that I can die to that state. So every little death is the lifting of the divine image. This means dying as the mystic means it. It means dying mentally. Man dies to ill health or poverty or disharmony, but he does it by yielding to the other states. If I do not pass through some state but remain in it, I think it is the only reality. You cannot conceive of a state that is not, for the whole is finished. But man is awakening only by dying to state after state. Remain faithful to your dream and you will bring yourself out of the old state into the new state that you are seeing. All things are burned up when we cease to behold them. If I am true to the likeness of what I behold, then I, the old man, cannot go into the new state. We all feel so secure in recurrence. If we know that a thing is fixed and that next week things will be as they are today, I feel secure in that recurrence. I can have done something that violates the moral codes. I can have come from the wrong side of the tracks, but I can accept that, for I'm used to it. But to say that something awakes in me and can become what it will, that is frightening to man. So we are told to awake out of sleep, for recurrence brings security to the whole vast world. One does what he does as if he did it in a nightmare, for God had to forget he was God to become man, and that whittling down to this level is the very limit of contraction. But then comes the awakening from that deep dream into which he threw himself to make me alive. So this lifting up power goes about setting man free, for God became every man, that every man may in time awaken as God. Eventually the whole world will awaken and the poem will be in full bloom, and it will be noble beyond our wildest dreams. And then it will exist for us and we will be one with the creator of the great poem. That is the art of dying. Now Neville went on to describe another piece from scriptures. He said, "I am riding a beast and I am at the crossroads. Bring me a beast on which no man ever sat, that is tied by the road where two ways meet. Here is a state I have never written before. It is so unnatural to feel myself to be the man I want to be, and to actually get into that state and ride it without being thrown by reason, which tells me I am mad. But if you know the Lord as your imagination, you can ride it into Jerusalem." We are told we will find the animal at a crossroads where two roads meet. We are always at a crossroads of what I am and what I want to be. So can I ride the beast I find at the crossroads and ride it into Jerusalem? Well, if I do, then I'm going toward heaven. But it is not continuous on my line of motion. It is adjacent to where I am, for heaven is a state of consciousness. I try to catch the feeling that would be mine if I were the man I want to be, but that involves a death. I must abandon myself to my dream as if it were true, and living in it, I lift it up and make it real. Everyone must pass through this state, for this is the only true religion in the world. Religion, like charity, begins at home with oneself. If I'm not in love with what I'm tied to, I must yield to something more lovely and make it real. I must bear my cross. I go so far and then I want to cross to the other line where my heaven is. For everything is interrelated. We all interpenetrate each other. We are all one. So there's interpenetration of the whole world, and then comes conflict. And from that comes the solution of the conflict. Each new state bears within it the seeds of new conflict. Every heaven becomes in time hell. A thing is ours for a moment, but as we continue in it, it will bring about conflict. As long as there's interpenetration, there's always conflict. So live in any desired state, and then as conflict arises, resolve it and die to it, and then move into another state. Thus we grow and outgrow. Thus man awakes. No man can be born in one environment and ever realize another if he does not yield to the state desired. So again, Blake was right. The best thing in life is death, but it takes man so long to die that his friends never see him rise from the grave. Can you not see then how it is with your friend who always tells you the same things, even though you have not seen him for 10 years? Everything is still recurring, nothing is new, but that makes him feel secure. Man does not want change, it frightens him. I tell you that your imagination is God. Believe it, exercise it. It is keyed low, but as you lift it up, you intensify it, and then vision after vision will be yours as you begin to awake. Do not think you are greedy because you are demanding things or the changing of things. You are here to create as your Father creates. Want what you want and yield to it and create it. Then you will want higher and higher things. But nothing blesses a man unless it comes down from its heavenly state and takes on flesh. You are the only one who can clothe it in reality, but it remains a state unless you yield to it. Now there you go, that's it for today's video. Now contemplate what was being shared. And if you're new to this channel, consider subscribing to receive new inspirational videos on a regular basis. And with that being said, dear viewer, never forget that we are the dreamers.